You're fine, sir? So you're fine? From the first? Continue. Sir? We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our generous partners, Platinum partner Ramai University of Applied Sciences, Gold partners Elicita, Silver partners Pali Institute, Kalaburgi and Prarthana Bowl School, Associate partners Morris Garage, Sapna Salt, Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Kaveri Hospital, Selco, Siri Gramodyoga, Kaveri Emporium and Shri SR, whose unwavering support has made this project a success. On one side, we have Dr. Divya Kalavala, is an academic and translator. She teaches at Manipal Academy of Higher Education at Bangalore, making her a perfect host for our today's session. And on the other side, we are honored to have with us Mr. Ramesh Karthik Nayak, the recipient of the prestigious Sahitya Akademi Yuva Puraskar. Without further ado, let's dive into this enriching exchanging of ideas. Over to you both.
Thank you everyone for coming. Let's begin this conversation with Ramesh. Ramesh Karthik Nayak, he needs no introduction to the people who are present here. But I'd like to begin this event by congratulating him for winning the Sahitya Akademi Yuva Puraskar Award for the year 2024 for his wonderful short story collection called Dhavlo. Gor Banjara Kathalu. And so, all right, so I'll begin with the book, Ramesh. Dhavlo book, I've read the book. It's pretty interesting. It's an eclectic mix of short stories. I want to understand that, I also understand that it is rooted in Banjara community. So can you talk about your community and its association with literature, the existing communities, and if you could shed some light on it?
Thank you, Divya. I'm glad that finally I'm on a panel to discuss about my only single book and also about my life. And mainly going into the introduction of this tribal communities or literature in Telugu, about indigenous literature, I want to talk about the Telugu landscape of tribal literature. Like in Telugu, we have dearth of indigenous literature. There are only 3 writers. So I mainly write about Banjara community. Within the Banjara community, there are 4 more communities we have. So my community is called as Gor Banjara, which means we do all sort of things like other communities do. But within the Banjara community, there are many more things. And this Dhavlo book is about all Banjara lives, and from starting Criminal Tribal Act from 1871 to today's Hyderabadi, like, or else about a younger generation, like 18 years old, who want to do catering, that and this. So this is about Banjara collection. And when it comes to the tribal literature, we have only 3 tribal communities have introduced into the Telugu writings, because there are only 3 writers who are writing. One is Mallipuram Jagadish from Savara tribal community. He had published 5 books. One is poetry collection and 4 short story collection. And another is Surya Dhananjay. She recently published a short story collection, like it's 2 years back. And also have compiled a compilation called Kesula with Professor Surya Dhananjay. And Padda Manasuya, she wrote about Koya community. Actually in Telugu, we have, there are many communities. We'll discuss about those communities later on. But in Telugu, when it comes to the Astitvavada, like identity or existence, we have many things like Strivada, Dalitvada, Bahujanavada, Muslim minority, Christian, Dalit. But when it comes to the you cannot even see a single thing. And there are few stories written by Chinta Dikshitulu, Attada Appal Naidu, Sammeto Mahadevi, Geetanjali, Jolita. Like, there are few people who have written these stories from outer perspective, but within the community, from insiders, there are no writers. And people do comment about these tribal communities that they have developed a lot. If they would have really developed, then definitely there will be at least a representative of a literature, or in some art, definitely there will be a representative. So if there is really the reservations or something else, like we have used, or else we have got to use these reservations to change our lives, definitely Ramesh won't be the first writer, actually. And fine, at least we have doing something, we are doing something, and I'm glad that definitely I will continue doing this.
All right, since you spoke about the communities, Banjara community, Adivasi communities, I'd like to understand the categorization within these Adivasi communities, if you could talk about that.
Mainly in Telugu, we use Adivasi, Girijana, and when it comes to the English or Hindi, we use Adivasi, the umbrella term. Actually, in Telugu, we have 3 tribal communities. One is Sanchara, which means nomads, keep wandering from forest and hills. And Girijana are people who live near to the hill places. And Adivasis, who live within the forest. So we have the categorization of 3 communities, but when it comes to the umbrella term, we just use Adivasi. But this is also fine to use the term, but there are like we have different tribal communities, and there are some political things, like people, they don't even want to tell nomads as Adivasis as nomads, like Girijana or Sanchara. So they always differentiate these things, and there are some political things happening. We always keep reading about these things. So I am from a Sanchara community, means nomad community, and Mallipuram Jagadish is a actually he's a Savara tribal from Savara tribe, but I'm trying to understand them as a Adivasi or Girijana. Though of course I have read his stories, because these people, actually we the Banjara people, we have little more associated with the mainstream communities, but this Savara or Koya, Gondo, there are lot many communities, they are not associated with mainstream community, but this outer side community, they always comment that you people have reservations, you can proceed, you can read, you can have a job, that and this, but they have their own stereotypical things, and they fear of this mainstream community, because within our community also, though like I'm associated with all the people and writers, still I fear of people. So within the tribal communities, we think that they are very strongest people. They can defeat an animal, they can kill an animal. But when it comes to the human being, they cannot do that. They're afraid of human beings actually.
Okay, I think this sheds light on, this gives us a complete understanding of the categorization or the division within the tribal communities in Telugu states. The importance of this question is that with your answer, I have understood is that there's a lot of confusion in terminology and in understanding as well, and visibility that you had mentioned. That in Sanchara Jati or community, Banjara community, there's a little bit of visibility which you're saying that it is not possible to other communities within the Adivasi communities in Telugu states. So, and of course, you've said pretty interesting things about fear. I'd like to get to that at a later time. But at the moment, I want to understand, I want to get to the book very quickly. I've read the book. As I said, it's pretty interesting. And I've read your first book as well, which is poetry collection, Baldir Bandi. And you began with poetry, and you moved to prose, and you write in both the genres. I'd like to know what you think about the genre in which you are writing, and would you prefer one over the other, or do you like because the new collection is prose, would you like to go with that? Like to know your thoughts on that.
I never thought that I was going to write prose. Actually, always I dreamed of becoming a poet because I used to read poets, and it is very easy to read, easy to understand for me. Of course, there are people who even say that poetry, we cannot understand it very easily. But when it comes to my topic, I was like, poetry is such a very good thing, and the imagination or something, metaphors or similes, whatever things they use it in poetry. So I started with poetry. Actually, I have lost my first manuscript of my poetry collection in 2014, and my Baldir Bandi is a second poetry collection actually. And later on, accidentally, I was searching for my tribal community's representation in Telugu literature, because we know Mahasweta Devi, Ramanika Gupta, Gopinath Mahanti, the people from outer communities, they come to these people and they started writing about them. So when I was searching in Telugu, I have come across a writer called Sameto Madevi. She is a teacher. She wrote a book called Reila Pulu, and later on, by the time, there are few people who are writing the non-fiction books about our community, like history, culture, traditions, songs, and everything. Professor Surya Dhananjay, Dr. Dhananjay Nayak, Bhangya Bhukya, Chinya Nayak, Guglot Krishna, Mood Krishna Chauhan. Mood Krishna Chauhan, recently he introduced the grammar for Banjara language also. So there are few people who are working on the non-fiction book, non-fictions, and also grammar and everything. So when it comes to the story, as a young, 16 years old, I want to read stories because we used to read the romantic stories in the magazines that we used to cover at that time, and also love stories, crime stories, some sort of stories. But there is only one story which I have got much connected with, Chinta Dikshitulu's Sugali Kutumbam. Sugali is also another name for Banjara community, which means people who have a good pack of bullocks or a good pack of cows. So these people can be called as Sugali. Actually, now we have two states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, but previously we had only Andhra Pradesh. So these people used to call Sugalis, not Banjara. Banjara is a universal term. So I have started from poetry, and when I published this poetry collection, I come across another other poets on social media. So they are writing their emotions. They are writing their the things like they are literally slogans, very prose like. But the senior writers who really want to encourage these people, they are not suggesting. Instead, they are encouraging that you have born for this only. You have to write this only. So when I compared my poetry with other people, a lot of difference is there. So I thought, okay, I'm unable to write the poetry, so better I have to stop writing. But accidentally at the time of Corona, the zeal about my community, or else the presentation of my community, made me write the stories. And it was I have I think in 2020, my father and I, we both had corona, and we were on the same bed. lying like
Next to each other.
next to each other, and we don't have other bed to have. So at that time I don't have any other chance to see cinema or something, so I started writing. Just want to write it for time pass, and later on it become very serious. And my friend Aparna, she recognized the stories, the worth of stories, and she said, I want to publish this. I said, you have already published one of the book and no one sold, and I have thrown all 300 copies into dustbin, and I have distributed remaining copies to all, because in Telugu there is no market at all. We have to distribute each other. We have to give our books, and some people, they even ghost other people to write reviews, going into their messenger, and this has all happened. So I decided that I'm not worth of writing poetry, so I have stopped poetry and thinking of writing short story, and published one of the short story collection, and later on I compiled one of the Banjara collections by Professor Surya Dhananjay. It's an 500 pages bulk book, and later on I have published English book. So this is what I have done till now.
All right, interesting. You said that you mentioned that you've stopped writing poetry, right? Is that something that's not going to enter the future at all?
I don't have connections with English writers, so no one going to comment my poetry. So I have freedom in English to write whatever I want to have.
No, I meant in Telugu poetry.
That's what I'm coming.
Right.
But when it comes to the Telugu, already the poetry had turned very prose. So definitely in coming ages, like coming years, definitely they will think that this will be the poetry, and the people who are coming now to write, they will think that this will be the poetry.
Right.
So I'm not we don't even have great readers. Like we have millions of people, Telugu, all over in world. We see many tribal people, but when it comes to the market, reading market or publishing market, we can't even sell 100 copies. So I thought poetry needs more thing. Of course, it needs very little time to write, very little time to read. But of course, it needs more time for edit it, understand it. So I thought, chalo, a very easy thing is short story. So better stick with short story in Telugu and in English. Whatever I want to write, I want to write.
All right. Just to go back a little before, earlier, when you had mentioned about fear among the Adivasi communities, and also mentioned about the invisibility, right? So this is also connected to the representation in popular culture, right? Especially films, literature, which the young people, or in the mainstream, it's quite exposed to this kind of popular culture. So I want to understand the kind of things that we're exposed to within popular culture through films and literature is very stereotypical in nature, right? Very black and white and very stereotypical, unfortunately. So, and you're emerging, you're a young emerging writer and an important voice from within the community. Do you see yourself bringing any shift in this?
So of course, when it comes to the movies, like it might be Hollywood, like in Hindi, you might have heard word called Banjara, the people who don't have any permanent address. So this word is very famous in Hindi songs and everywhere. When it comes to the Telugu, when it comes to the dance, like the heroine or hero dances, back of them there will be the Banjara women keep dancing with the half naked. Like they have their own importance of dressing style, and the embroidery or the things that they have ornated on their dress. So the representation of tribal communities as cold-blooded murderers, or else people who keep thieving all the things from the people who travel from the forest, or else like people who do prostitution, or else like people who are waiting for the chance of having money and they go for surrogacy, and later on they cheating, and the women who seduce men. So like the representation was not really good, and this is also one of the things, because there are few movies recently came, like one movie, I don't remember the name, but there are a movie in that movie they have mentions about Koya community, and they say that Koya community are living in Tanda. Actually, when it comes to the Lambadi people, Banjara people, their hamlet is called as Tanda. When it comes to the Koya people, their hamlet is called as Gudem. And when it comes to the Chenchu tribal communities, they have Penta. So they have their own name for their hamlets. So these people who are taking, or else who want to make movies, they don't even have a clarity which type of tribal community lives in which place and what the hamlet is named as. So the representation is very bad in the movies, and once I have heard that, I was waiting in a bus stop and there is a Banjara woman who came from Devarakonda, and she was waiting in Secunderabad, and I was waiting for, I'm an anchor at Doordarshan, so I was waiting for the bus. And one of the boy, he was asking to his mother, these people, they do item dance kada in the movie. So, like, I'm not commenting him, but of course the society made like that. So I thought, sir, they have made something. So as a, like, I have something to tell. Of course, I am not a full-length writer. Like, I don't know whether I am representing the whole 100% of Banjara life. But because I am a half Telugu, half Banjara, so I'm only representing half of the Banjara. And my zeal is that I want to represent the whole 100% of life into the literature. So I don't know whether I'm going to change this perspective or not, but I'm trying. Because there are lot many writings have happened in English and other languages. I have to go through all these writings so that I will be getting a clarity. I cannot say that writing one book which got an award so that I'm a writer and I'm representing, I'm an important voice. So people do comment that important voice. What is important voice? Why it is an important voice? You better comment on that. You better give a criticism why it is an important voice. If it is really represented well, then please comment why it is an important voice and why it is needed now. What is the importance of this tribal literature about their identity or something else?
Okay. That was an interesting anecdote that you've brought out. It also sort of brings in the stereotypical nature that we've talked about. And yes. So you were saying that it's not possible for one person to bring in change. But I think it is also very important that at least one person comes forward to sort of represent the community from within. And in that context, in that context, I'd like to, I look at you as a young, emerging, very promising voice from within the community. Has there been, I mean, you've had quite a fascinating journey as well. So within the Telugu literature circles, do you have support from the senior writers or publishers? Any kind of allyship, if you could share your experience with regard to that.
Before going into the question, I want to tell something else. Like, in Telugu, we have many vadas, like Dalita Vada, Stri Vada, Minority Vada, and Christian Dalit Vada. So, of course, we even have Girijana Vada, something that we are going to create, or we use a term. So, all people, other Avada people, they mention that like people are not considering us writers, people are not talking about us, people are not even reading our books, that and this. So at least in Telugu literature, there is some sort of literature to represent you or your identity or else about your community. But what is there in Telugu literature to represent about tribal community? We have 33 tribal communities, and later on they have added 2 more, and there are 35 tribal communities in both of the states. So there are only 3 tribal writers means, like, we have there is nothing. I'm just telling that we are 3 writers, at least we have some 6 books to represent, but it's nothing in the Telugu literature because it's in big ocean. So the people always, they keep commenting that our books are not read, our books are, no one is representing us. Really, we the people have to tell these things, like me or Malipuram Jagadish or Surya Dhananjay or Padmanasya. We have to tell that actually. But I never said that. Always I thought, chalo, I have to go to people if they, even now, when I met some people, I said, if you are interested, please come to my session that is going to happen. It means that they have their own interest. It will happen very slowly, and I'm thinking that definitely I believe that slowly people will come to know about us, and definitely they will read our books. So it's a very big thing. And when it comes to the Telugu literature, these days there are young writers coming with their identities, like they're writing their identities, about their mother, about their father, their family stories, and their love stories, everything. in Telugu literature, the young writers are very good at this time. They are writing short stories, poetries, and novels. And publishers also very good at choosing the young writers and publishing their writings, like short stories or novels, something. And there are few publishers like LME, Aju. They are paying well also, like not much, but of course they are paying a little more money for this sales. And even my publisher, Anvikshiki, they are publishing a lot. I don't know about the royalties or something. But for writer in Telugu, if their book got published, that will be a very big thing. That will be a very big thing. You should not expect any other things. Like you should not even expect anything. Recently, something happened. Recently, something bad happened with me. I don't think it's a bad, but of course, I want to mention it as a bad thing only because last year also one of my friend who is a publisher, about her also something bad happened. When it comes to the people like here, they have some groups. Of course, I don't know whether in other languages groups are exist or not. So these people, they have their own groups and they always talk about themselves itself. They don't talk about Ramesh or they don't talk about Malipuram Jagadish or Surya Dhananjay, something else. Though they like indirectly they keep patting our back and they tell that we are supporting, but suddenly if suppose you got into a limelight or else your book have sold like 10,000 copies or 1,000 copies, at least you got a award. It might be a 5,000 rupees worth. They can't even tolerate that. It's like I'm not telling about the award or something else, but the people they say that we have led a road for you and you have came. For me, my friend Aparna Tota, Chaitanya, Purnima and Surya Dhananjay, they have supported me and they crowdfunded for me and they have had some money and they published my book. No one supported me and I have myself came and I am not seeking for any support from any people because I believe in literature. If I can like, I would have commented on Telugu writers or I would have complained that no one is supporting me. Because really there is no support in Telugu literature. Publishers, they publish, but even though they have their own category that whom to celebrate more, whom to keep aside, there like lot many things happens. So recently they have started writing on Facebook that and this. It's really such a bad thing that in Telugu we don't have any literature festival. Telugu we don't have any literature festival. No one even called because always there is a good literature in Telugu actually. There are good literature and there are tremendous writers like Olga, Kutumbrao, Satyavati and Mrunalini. Even Purnima recently she started a publication house called LME, translating from various Indian languages. And there are young writers like Sharif and Vempalli Gangadhar. Lot many writers like Gauss, Mallikarjun. Many writers they are writing, but the problem is that they can only write, but they cannot even at least tell that this is my book, please read. So the people who want to comment about these people, they need to have support from the writers. Like it might be anything. You can imagine the dash. Whatever you want to add, you can add, please. So support is fine, but not fine. It's fine, but not fine. It's a wavering mood of thing. Like they always think that they are supporting and also writers think that they are supporting, but actually that's not a support because when recently a bad thing happened with me, they even targeted my friend and they started writing about my community. Like the person says that he is respecting my community, but he never wrote any single line about my community actually, and he not even supports his own community people also. There are great writers than him also. So this is all happens and this is not a correct time actually. I don't want to spoil my mood and thank you for asking this.
Sure. So you're trying to say that there are difficulties at every step of the way for a young writer coming from Adivasi community or marginal community in Telugu circles. We hope that it changes. And so another interesting thing about your writing I've noticed is that you've dabbled in different languages, right? You write in Telugu, interspersed with words from Lambadi language as well. And you write full-fledged works in English as well. So do you feel you're a nomad in the world of languages? Has there been any challenges within these languages?
before the challenges, I want to tell this thing. Of course, I'm a nomad and also I'm an innocent and I'm also a stranger. But no one believes that I'm an innocent because I'm a nomad. I will be seen everywhere. So it's in my blood. So you'll be seeing Ramesh everywhere. So definitely you think that he is not innocent. He is not a stranger. This is what happens with the community also, because you will be seeing this community everywhere. So definitely they think that they are well versed and they are well settled. So with the languages, of course, I'm not much well with all these languages, but something I have learned from the all people, or else in my education, I have learned some languages and representing that. And uh, the language that I'm using within the stories, like I want to represent the flavor of Banjara community, because language is very near to this Hindi. It's in Devanagari, like 60% of words and language, everything is very near to Banjara. So I
With
thought,
no script, you mean? Right.
so I'm not little well versed with all these languages, but sometimes when it comes to the inspiration, I don't know why I write or why I write it very accurately, and sometimes I don't write properly, and it's nothing. There won't be the language, that's something I will be representing or writing. The flow of the thing will be very good. So I don't know in which language I will be continuing or something, but for now I am continuing to write in Telugu, mostly in Telugu and very little in English, because when it comes to the English, I'm unable to express all the nuances or something else in English. So my friend Kabir Kishan, he suggested, please, your poetry in English is very good and you're representing all the nuances and tribal communities' sensibilities, but when it comes to the prose, you're not representing. So better write only in Telugu so that someone will be translating it. So I think we can use a word called lost in translation, because Banjara, they have their own language, but we don't have script. Not only for Banjara, but also for tribal communities, we don't have any script. We have only language. So when we are translating it into Telugu, Telugu is also not our mother tongue. So definitely it will be a guest language, and then later on English, it will be another guest language. So there will be the loss of translation will be happening again and again, and don't know how accurately we are capturing the lives of these people.
Okay. So you'd mentioned that translation, lost in translation. So this is a process that happens within writing as well, even before going to translation. Within writing, because you're using the script of Telugu to represent another culture into the language. So while one of your short story, Purudu, was translated into English and multiple other regional languages like Hindi, Malayalam, Kannada, and Bengali as well. So that's again another interesting thing that's happening within the process of writing. You said there's it's getting lost in translation. What happens in translations is something I would like to hear from you.
I'm not like I can translate, but when it comes to the other writers, I have little difficulty in translating their works, because I'm not much familiar with their culture, like the sensibilities of their language or like sensibilities of their behavior also. So when it comes to the Purudu story, it was translated by VB Somya and got published in Iowa University magazine, and it's about the magical realism. It's about childbearing. So this story, within this story, there will be another story. Within the story, there will be another story, and this is a magical realism story. So I think when it comes to the magical realism thing, in each and every language, each and every community, you will be having folk tales, fairy tales, and everything. So when it comes to the magical realism stories, each and everyone will be get connected to this theme or else this topic called magical realism, and it will make them fascinate to translate it well. So I think when it comes to the folk like things or some other non-fiction things, when added with socialistic realism, magical realism, surrealism, definitely the writing will be might be some 10 or 15-20% will be losing its original beauty, but almost it will be getting represented in the same way. Because as a Telugu person, I have translated few writings from English to Telugu, not from Telugu to English. I have translated my own translation. So I have little idea about this.
Okay. So in your work, when you just mentioned that magical realism, that's another prominent thing a prominent style, literary style that I see in your writings, where you bring in a world of fantasy and weave your stories into it. So is that something that you're inspired by any other writers to write in magical realism, or is it something that comes naturally to you?
Actually, when it was like in 2009, it was Telangana movement was started, and at that time we used to get many holidays. So I used to discuss the folk tales or like Vikram Betala Kadalu, the Ali Baba and 40 Thieves and Salabanjika Kadalu. There are many books like this. So we used to discuss about these stories, and we used to narrate the cinemas in our own voices, like in our own way, and also within the tribal communities or within the communities who live in the far away from the main society, they have their own unique style in telling the stories, folk tales, or something else. So we think that magical realism is something beyond, and it cannot be written by the common people. But actually, it's not a very tricky task. If you really understand it very properly, if you go back to your childhood, definitely you will be understanding what is magical realism, because the folk tales, fairy tales, everything has it. So when it comes to this thing, I have a little introduction with these things, because I have previously heard many stories from my grandparents and other people, and there are few series of movies used to come at my childhood. So when I come across the author called Gabriel Garcia Marquez, a Latin American writer, his story, one of the story, Old Man with Enormous Wing. Such a don't know all people would like it or not, but when it comes to my case, like I was greatly fascinated by that story and have started the continuation of the story. Have created another story in my collection. It's a big story actually. Costa, it means cocoon in our language. Costa in Telugu, in English, it can be said as cocoon. So this story is a continuation of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, that Old Man with an Orange Wing story. So I thought, okay, even that time when I have finished this story, I'm not much confident that whether it was represented properly or not. But when some of my friends they read, some have said that it's not nice. Some said it's nice. So I said, okay, it's for me, not for others. So it's fine for me, whether it's good or not. Since then I started writing, and I've used magical elements and surrealism, that and this, and it came fine. And I'm trying to bring out, like I'm thinking of having all these magical realistic stories from Telugu. So I was asking many writers whether they have read such type of stories in other writers' books or not. So I don't know how much percent of magical realism or surrealism had represented in Telugu, but I'm just thinking, because if suppose something had elements like this have represented in something, definitely there will be a representation of tribal person's character also. So that's what I'm thinking of, having this element. So I think definitely I will be compiling a collection about this in Telugu.
Okay. So you've mentioned about magical realism, which is part of your work, right? So when you look at, it makes the literary style makes the writer break the boundaries in a way. So, and you've been an avid reader and a great writer as well. Do you think you have the literary style of magical realism, employing these styles, has helped you to break the boundaries and move from, I mean, of course, you will be tagged as a marginal literature coming from a certain important voice that is coming from a certain community. So, do you think these styles help you in breaking breaking these tags or these markers, and make it into something new, especially when moving from marginal to mainstream?
I think when it comes to the like contemporary literature, when it comes to the new writers, like young writers who are writing, you cannot even find the same style. Like when it comes to the story, you need to have a elements like you need to give a, moral value for the story. You need to show a struggle of a person, that and this. There are some sort of techniques you have to use. But when it comes to the young writers who are writing now, you cannot find all those type of things. They just represent the life which they want to represent. They don't want to take all this literary things, like they want to follow all this process to write a poem or short story. So definitely when it comes to the marginalized community who are coming out of it, when it comes to Gogu Shamla's work, Yenuganta Tandri Kanna Yenuganta Tandri Kanna Ekula Buttanta Tallinam. When it comes to those stories, you cannot find all Telugu sort of style. She only concentrates on the characters and makes a big canvas there, so you cannot find the same stereotypical style in that. And when it comes to the book called Pampa Thiram, recently it's a novel by Volga. In that also, you can see there won't be any moral value to say something. So the literature should be literature. I think it should not teach, because there are many people who tell, like Babajis, politicians, many people who teach us this moral values. For literature, we need to give something that is very unique and little different. That's it. And you will be taking whatever you want to have from that. So marginalized communities, they are representing very good literature and very diverse, and the canvas, language, styles, and the struggles. Actually, the struggles are very different. We think that the struggle for all the people will be same, but when it comes to the communities, I don't know about the caste people, because they always tell something. Because I am not that caste. I am a tribal person. I am a nomad person. I am a gypsy also. So when it comes to this people, definitely there will be a big certain books. You just have to go and read. That's it. That is only the thing you have to do.
Okay, one last question, which is that do you have an audience in mind? Do you have a target reader in mind? And once that happens, I'll open the floor to everyone for questions. Please go ahead.
ఎవరైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగాలి అనుకుంటే అడగొచ్చు. Anyone want to ask any questions? You can ask.
I've just asked you a question about.
You asking me?
Yes.
I thought
yes.
you were asking.
No. I'm sorry if it was confusing. I was saying that do you have a target audience or target reader in mind is something that I'm very interested to know. Once you answer that, because there's very less time, so I'm just announcing both the things. And
For me, when I started writing, now also I don't have any target audience or something. Definitely, because the people who are around us, like friends or family members, definitely they will be reading. At least, if suppose some other people who are really want to read the literature, they might not read your book and your book might not reach them, but at least your friends will be reading. So when it comes to my case, I just want to represent, I just want to write and just want to publish for myself. If you people think that it is for you, just pick it up and you just read. That's it.
all right, thank you. The floor is open for discussion, questions from the audience. Please feel free to ask questions to Ramesh.
ఎక్స్పీరియన్సెస్ ఉంటాయి కదా, ఒక నవల స్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నావా ఇప్పుడు చేస్తున్నావా?
Actually, Rai and mustard seeds. Actually, recently I'm working on a novel called Rai. Of course, there are few friends like Kutumba Rao. He always tortures me to write many books and that and this, and Chaitanya Pingali, Purnima, Ajay Verma. There are few limited friends whom I torture, and also they torture me to write my writing. But when it comes to the writings, we have very unique things to mention about death, culture, birth, or songs, or language, or social behavior, or representation of language also. So I'm thinking that it won't be an immediate process. I can, if I can write some other topic, then definitely I can finish it within 1 or 2 months. I can write a novel. But when it comes to me, it's a very slow process that I have to take clear history, background of each and everything. I have to talk to my grandmother, I have to talk to the experts, and then only I have to confirm those things into my stories. Without that, I cannot do. So it's a very slow process. Then definitely, I would like to write a novel, and this year definitely you will be expecting at least 3 books from me, a compilation and a novel, and another book, a short story collection. In Telugu, English, I think it will be next year.
Yeah, so what I want to ask is basically that we see that a lot of literary fiction has come recently from various communities and diverse set of people, right? But in India, we still, I feel we suffer from a lack of good genre fiction, right? And that's the stuff that sells most books in other countries as well. Whereas we have kind of like we have pulled it down to the gutters, and all we are left now with is muck in the name of genre fiction. How do you think is it relevant for a young writer such as yourself to bring in good genre fiction and connect it at the same time with various representations? For example, there was this recently a whole revolution has come into black horror fiction, right, in the USA. So can we or should we expect something similar to happen in our country or our community soon?
So actually, when it comes to the literature or serious fiction, in India or foreign, I think definitely the serious fictionist or a serious writing will be always ignored. It will be read very less, and most of the people, they want to enjoy the, because when I was talking to Divya, I said I used to read romance stories, crime stories. So definitely each and everyone want to enjoy that. So when it comes to the stories like Ramesh Karthik Nayak writes about his community, and they have some plights, and they have their cultural things, and they have some pain, death, something. These are like people, they cannot connect immediately because they want to have when they are reading something, they want to have pleasure immediately. Like I should not mention that, but of course, writers are also interested in having commercial fiction, and they want to have their writings into the movies. So serious writers are always ignored, and I think definitely in some time after at least 10 years, definitely serious writers will be more, and this pulp or commercial writers will be less, because nowadays actually this Netflix or Amazon, some other social media platforms, they are thinking of having only such type of fiction and serious. If they're really concerned with the lives of people and culture and communities, then definitely they can adopt all these cultural or else like serious fiction into the movies, and they can see people definitely will connect to this, but don't know where we are lacking. And as per my knowledge, I am not much connected with this all things, so I cannot give you a proper answer. But fine, I think it happens soon, because people like me who are always quarreling with others to have our fictions, though they don't read. So it's fine. There will be some other people who come, and they themselves fight with people to represent themselves, and they write their writing, though no one reads, though no one publishes their writings.
Mr. Karthik,
Sir.
I am only aware about 2 books of you. One is Balder Bandi, it's poetry, and the other is story collection Davlo. About which book you got good response from your Telugu readers, and in what genre you are convenient to write? Do you prefer to write stories or poetry? In which field you feel free yourself, and what is your decision to follow the poetry or the write poetry or the stories? The reason behind also.
Actually, I'm fine. Actually, I'm well with both of the things, but the change in the literature in Telugu fiction world. Now I'm concerned to write only short stories, because it's good, because it don't have any boundaries that it has to be written like this, it has to be written like that, and who the hell are you to write this? Because we have our own freedom. But when it comes to the poetry, there are many typecast writers. Like something happens, they keep writing poems on the Facebook. They don't even bother of the quality of the writing of a poetry or else genre something. I'm convenient to write poetry only because it takes a little time, and it has like you can enjoy it immediately. But when it comes to the story, when I start a story, it goes like up to 40-50 pages. So it's very long, and I have to see the connection. Sometimes I even forget what characters I have introduced and what they are going to tell. So I have to read again. So when it comes to the poetry, it's very easy for me, and short story it's difficult. But now I'm thinking of only writing short story. I think I have few of the poems. Definitely, I also try to publish them. Though it's not in poetry, it's in prose. I'm daring to publish it because I want to. There are people who are writing prose and telling that that is a poetry. Then why should I not publish my prose and say prose? Thank you.
All right. Okay. I've had an incredible time talking to you today, as always. Thank you so much for giving us the time and giving us this insightful journey into your writing and other things associated with the literature. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming as well.
Thank you so much.